Hi there, vinyl community. Time for another update on what I've been up to and what I've got my hands on over the last kind of 4 and a bit weeks or so, since Christmas really. So a friend of mine, or a couple of friends of mine came over a week and a half ago or so, and they all brought a box of records each, and I dragged a load of stuff out that I've got, and we kind of just like a bit of a swap meet really. I mean, we kind of just charged each other £2 for records and just kind of to dig in, see what you can find and that kind of thing. So I've got rid of a few bits and bobs that I didn't listen to. But one of my friends came over, his neighbour found a box of his old records up in the loft. Didn't want them, he's got no record player. So sent them over. There was just an absolute stash of reggae and ska and dub. So I'm going to just show you what they are today. I think you might have, if you follow me on Twitter, seen that. But I'll start with the non-reggae dub stuff first. So this is all stuff that I got on that Friday night. It was like a week and a half ago. It's Thursday night, so 2 weeks tomorrow in fact. So the first one I picked up, £2, was the Ella Fitzgerald song, Jerome Kern songbook. So it's on Verve. It's got a lovely flip back label, and I mean, this is not one that I know about. It's not one that I'm familiar with. I've got the Rodgers and Hart songbook, and I've got a whole load of them. I've got the Cole Porter songbook, all on Verve. So I was really thrilled for that, for £2, and it's in really, really clean condition. I won't get it out all the way, but you can see there the Verve label. So I was just utterly chuffed with that for a couple of quid, and why not? The next one that I picked up for a couple of quid, that again, it's one that I don't have. I have it on CD. And I see it on vinyl every now and then, but I always find it either overpriced or in rubbish condition, or both. So it's Asia, or Arja, I say Asia, by Steely Dan. So it's Walter Becker and Donald Fagen. Arguably their best, finest album. My favourite is A Royal Scam. I love that album, but this is great. So it's a really nice condition, gatefold sleeve with the record in it just there, and its kind of lyric sheet. £2. Can't actually go wrong with that kind of deal. And again, I was selling some of the stuff that I don't listen to, which is in pretty good nick, that I picked up for not a particularly large amount of money, but it was just nice to have. And there's 4 of us here, and we just kind of all had a few beers, and we all went home with new records and kind of about the same amount of money. Apart from me, actually, I think I bought more than everybody else, but that's just because the amount of reggae it was an offer, and nobody else liked it. What could I do? Next up, we've got With the Beatles. So the 1963 album. It's a stereo reissue. As you can see, it's got a laminated front and not on the back. There's a laminated strip down the side there, but it's not. I think it's a 70s reissue or something like that. So it hasn't got a barcode, and it is a little bit thicker vinyl, so I would suggest that this is 70s. It's a stereo, and it's got the black and kind of silver parlophone labels. As those of you that watch my videos regularly will know that I enjoy listening to the Beatles, and I do listen to the Beatles. They're not my favourite band in the whole wide world, so I'm not one of these guys that will just root out first pressings with different matrices and kind of all the stamper runs of every album. But I do want a decent copy of all of their albums, and I am getting there slowly but surely. So I've got a nice, clean copy of With the Beatles, £2. Next up, I love a bit of Wilko Johnson. So this one, Wilko Johnson's live in London. It's called Watch Out. And it's on a label called Waterfront Records. I've never heard of. That's the label just there. I thought, well, for a couple of quid, why not? It's only got 7 tracks on it. It spins at 45 RPM. If I'm honest, I've cleaned it up. It was a bit mouldy, that one. I had a bit of rubbish all over it. It's cleaned up really nicely. I haven't yet played it. When I finish this video that I'm recording, I think maybe I'll give that a spin. But I'm really happy with that. Really, really, really chuffed. And yeah, so that was £2. It's fantastic. The next one, the B-52's first album. This is, for me, by far their best album. The one I certainly enjoy listening to the most on Ireland. It's kind of possibly not one that made them, that sold a massively large amount. I mean, you never really see it out and about in the wild, this one. It's a bit beaten up, but again, the record was a bit mouldy and a bit minging, but I cleaned it up, and it came out shiny. There we go. So it's got Rock Lobster on it, and Planet Claire is the opening track, which I love. It's really good. It's really good doing stuff music. If I'm on a mission to get stuff done, that album does go on, and I haven't got a wax copy of it, so I'm really, really happy to have that. So that's all my kind of non-reggae dub stuff, and the rest of it is all kind of in that vein, if you will. So I'll try and go through it vaguely in genre order. So I'll start off with the ska stuff. So the first ska one is this one. It's called This Are Two-Tone. It is a deliberate error in the way that it's spelt. It's got loads of 45 RPM two-tone labels on the front, and it's kind of like a retrospective overview of the two-tone label. 1983, so kind of just after it had all finished. Well, I say finished, but when all the bands were known and were either stopped or gone to different labels. But you've got the Selector, you've got the Specials. Is there Madness on there? Yeah, one Madness song. They only released a single on Two-Tone. The Body Snatchers, again, fairly short-lived band. The Beat, who are not on Two-Tone particularly long. So that's good. I've got quite a lot of Two-Tone stuff. I've got most of the stuff that's on here, but I haven't got the Road to Dakar, not on vinyl anyway. I haven't got the Swinging Cats either. Not a great track, but for a completist like me, for Two-Tone, I'm pretty happy with that. So good stuff. I think that was only £1, that one. Happy days. The next one, sticking on Two-Tone, was this one. That Man Is Forward by Rico. Rico being Rico Rodriguez, this chap here. Died a couple of years ago, really sadly. He's a trombone player, played with the Specials and whatnot. Also ended up playing with Jules Holland's big band, if you watch the Jules Holland shows. So this one, yeah, that one, it's very scarry. That's on Two-Tone, but there's also quite a lot, because it's instrumental music for the most part, but almost in its entirety it's instrumental. It does, on some of the slow numbers, feel a little bit dubby. That's really great, and that needed a clean. But not. It came up shiny. If you look at that, though, I really like that. The label is the Two-Tone Man. There he is. And he's actually playing the trombone on this one. I think that's really cool. It's just a little thing, but very cool. These go for quite a lot of money on the internet. I'm not going to sell it because I want to listen to it. I'm going to get my enjoyment out of it. But I know he's got a few albums on Two-Tone. Certainly another one or two. I'm not quite sure, I'll have to do a bit of research, but I'm really chuffed to have that one. And the last kind of scarry one that I've got is an album by a band called The Beat, and it's called I Just Can't Stop It, The Beat. And it's got their only #1 single called Mirror in the Bathroom, which for me is one of the most perfect singles, popular music singles ever recorded. Absolute beautiful tune. It's got Hands Off She's Mine, which is another one that people might know. Can't Get Used to Losing You, Best Friend. They're kind of the ones that were released. So that one is a bit scratchy, a bit mucky, but for £1, I'm happy with that. I was really lucky to go on tour with The Beat about 10 years ago. I was in their support band, and I managed to get on stage most nights and jump around like a loony with them. So I'm glad to have a copy of that. You do see that out in the wild, but it's always in really bad condition. It's one of those albums that I think went to a lot of parties back in its day. So I've got a playable version. I will pick up at some point a cleaner version than that, but that one's okay for now, considering I don't have one. So now we move on to kind of the reggae kind of section, if you like. So I've done my my ska stuff. This is a kind of a bit of a lovers rock, a little bit rock steady almost, with its pace is right down. This is on Trojan. John Holt's called Dusty Road, and it's just really easy to listen to. It's one of those albums you can sit and you pop it on, and you can float away to another time zone entirely. A planet, if you wish. It's lovely, and I've listened to that a couple of times over the last week, and that's been one that I will happily put on and sit, and I'll do some work from home for a little bit, or I will sit and read, or sometimes I will literally just sit and veg out. It's just a perfect album for that. His vocals are very soul-y. It's almost kind of like the closest to soul that reggae gets. I've got a copy of 10,000 Volts of Holt on the shelf as well, which is a similar kind of feel to it. So that one for a couple of £, I'm really happy with that. Really happy with that. Getting through them as quickly as I can. The next one I've got two records here by a guy called U-Roy. So that one there is like a Virgin Records compilation called Crucial Cuts. I've got one of those for Gregory Isaac, so I won't talk about that too much. It is a nice compilation, I have listened to it. And that one there is Natty Rebel, it's called, and that's, I'll tell you what the record label is. It's Virgin, but it's a subsidiary label that I can't read what it's called. So U-Roy is kind of known for his kind of toasting style. I suppose it's kind of almost like a precursor to what we know as rapping now. So yeah, so that's somebody I haven't got on the racks, and somebody that I have got lots of CDs also. It's nice to have them, so that's great. Gonna listen to that loads. I've listened to the Virgin one, but I haven't listened to Natty Rebel because that's one that needed cleaning. Next up, there's a band called Culture. These guys here, there's 3 of them. This album called 2/7's Clash. I have actually got a later pressing of this on a lot thinner 80s vinyl, so I was really chuffed to pick up a much earlier pressing of this, and it's much cleaner as well, and it's on Lightning Records. I'll show you it real quick. There you go. I really love that label. Isn't that a cool label? So that's that. I've already got a copy of this, but I shall be getting rid of that now. I know a couple of people that like reggae, so I'll chuck it their way, I'm sure. I think I paid a couple of quid, so it's, you know, I'm not really out of pocket for that, and it's a much better copy than the one I've got. Sticking with Culture, here's another one of their albums, which I hadn't already got a copy of, and this is called International Herb. I always forget that. International Herb, it does say it around there, and again, this is on Virgin, a little bit later, but a couple of quid. Very clean, actually, that one. Didn't need much of a clean. I did clean them all, but that one was one of the first ones that was okayed for the record deck. Next up, we've got a soundtrack from a film called The Harder They Come. It's on Ireland. It's by Jimmy Cliff. You'll know the title track, but it's got some other stuff on there that you might know. It's got you can get it if you really want. Johnny Too Bad, Pressure Drop by Toots and the Maytals, and so on and so on. So that's great. This is a film I really like, although the dubbing on it is always a little bit off. This is a 25 Years of Ireland edition, so it's not an original, but that doesn't matter. It's not one that I've already got a copy of, so a couple of quid for that. Smash in. Next up, Peter Tosh, Mystic Man. Now this one, interestingly, is on the Rolling Stones label, so the kind of the yellow label with the lips and the tongue. If I show you it just there. Peter Tosh was one of the original members of the Wailers, Bob Marley's original band. He obviously left and did his own thing. Who was the other person? Was it Bunny Wailer, I think it was. So that's great. That's a little bit heavier, a little bit not darker, but certainly heavier and deeper, if you like, than the Culture and Jimmy Cliff. Next up, I took a bit of a punt on this one. I've listened to it. It's okay. It's one that I need to give more of a go with, but it's a guy called Mikey Dread, and it's called World War III. So you can see there you go, lots of different tanks and stuff like that. The record label is a record label I've never heard of called Dread at the Controls, which I believe is his own label. I think it was something to do with Studio One, but that's a really cool label. I love that label so much. And the sleeve is quite flimsy, and it's almost kind of a matted cardboard, kind of a textured cardboard sleeve. So I took a bit of a punt on that for a couple of quid, but it's only a couple of quid, it doesn't really matter too much. They're only going to go to waste and go back up somebody's loft for another 50 years. So I've cleaned it up. I've listened to it. It was quite toasting, overproduced a little bit for me in places, quite electronic sounding rather than real instruments. But I'll give it another go because I owe it to Mikey Dread to give him a shot. And that brings me to the end of my reggae section. So what's left here, I'm just checking, is all dub. Just a whole stack of dub records. Which, oh wait, no, that was not dub. I'll show you that one quickly. So this is a band called Misty in Roots. This is their first album. It's called Live at Eurovision. It was recorded in Germany, I think, something like that. No, in Brussels, sorry, in Belgium. Misty in Roots were kind of an 80s reggae band, kind of late 70s, 80s, and they were kind of the same ilk as Aswad, and also UB40 all kind of came in the same kind of time span. They all kind of appeared. So this one, I'm really, really happy about this. I've listened to this and it's great. I've actually been on the support bill for Misty in Roots a few years ago, and it's on the People Unite record label. A very small record label. I don't think this is massively rare or massively sought after. I'm just really happy to have a copy of that on my racks, and that will be rotated. So the rest is dub. Let's get through this. So we've got Sly and Robbie, It's called A Dub Experience. I'm not going to show you the label, although it's on Ireland, so you can guess what it looks like. Sly and Robbie are a bass player, a drummer, and they were kind of like session musicians in Jamaica. They are on thousands of albums, but they also made albums in their own right. Next up, this guy called Mad Professor. There we go, look at that. And he's eating tape, because that's just the way he rolls. Dub Me Crazy Part 5 on Ariwa Sounds Records. Next up, I've got Dub Me Crazy Part 1. Now, this has not got the original sleeve. It's just got a plain black sleeve, but for £1, I thought I'm going to get that. I might pick up a sleeve one day for it. Both of those later dub, so kind of mid-70s to 80s, I think. Let's just double check. I can't even see a date on it. It's on the same label, by the way, this one. What about that one? I can't even see a date. Never mind. Yeah, kind of later on, so after people like Lee Scratch started out and King Tubby. And then finally I've got one more Mad Professor one, which is just absolutely nuts. There we go. That one is called Mad Professor Something Kind. Experiments of the All Kind. It's a little bit electronic for me, but it is a good listen, and it's a valuable addition to the collection. I'm trying to find a date for you guys, but I can't see one on the record or anything. All of them are on this record label Ariwa. A-R-I-W-A. Cool, moving on. Slum, Gregory Isaacs in dub. I'm so thrilled to have this on vinyl. This is an album I've had on CD for years and years. I love Gregory Isaacs' voice, and this dub album that he did, it's just fantastic. And I couldn't believe it when I pulled this one out of the box. Burning Sounds, I think I've got a couple of Burning Sounds albums now, or something. But that is just unbelievable. That has been spun more than anything else over the last week, because I am in a state of shock that managed to turn up in my hand for £2. Unbelievable. Linton Kwesi Johnson in dub. So he's a poet, kind of a beat poet from Jamaica, and this is on Ireland, and he kind of did a dub album. It's not really got a lot of his poetical work on it. It's more dub, but it's fantastic. Absolutely bloody love it. And then lastly, I've got two albums by the absolute godfather, king of dub, King Tubby. Kind of the guy that really pioneered dub in the kind of early 70s. So I've got Dub from the Roots, the Dub Master, and the Roots of Dub. Both different, both got completely different track listings, both on different record labels as well. So I'll show you real quick. I'm really chuffed with these. That one's on Striker Lee, or Strictly, and this one is on oh, it's on the same one. Sorry, it's on the same label. These are not originals. Originals go for hundreds and hundreds of quid. They're repressings, but they sound amazing and they've been listened to. The only thing I'd like to tell you about quickly is I did go shopping last week and got myself some brand new records. I got the latest David Bowie 7-inch 40th anniversary reissue of Sound and Vision from the album Low. And then finally, staying with the ska reggae kind of theme, I bought myself a copy of the third Specials album. I say third Specials album, the Special AKA in the studio. After the Specials did their second album, they all had a falling out and half of them made this album with some other guys. It's got some great stuff on it, I love it, and you never really see copies of it. It wasn't a big seller, so you don't see copies of it out and about. It was 15 quid, 35% off. It came in at like £9.70 or something like that. That's no money at all for an absolutely pristine, brand new 180 gram vinyl, a tenner. Smashing. That's what I've been buying. That's quite a stack. It's my birthday next week, so I've asked for loads of records, and we'll see what comes my way. But for now, I hope you've enjoyed that. Do interact with me on Twitter if you'd like any more information about any of the records that I've talked about. It's at Vinyl Junkie with underscores between the words and before and after. I'll pop it in the comments. Or on here, please by all means leave me a message. But yeah, take care of yourselves, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye now.